7:06, let's bring the meeting to order. This is the, what date is it? It is the March 18, 2024 Board of Supervisors meeting. Let's salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we do have a couple of announcements to make. So we do, first off, we want to recognize that it's been 20 years of service in the West Vincent Police Department for Sergeant Austin Russell, which is amazing. Hopefully he's getting some kind of a huge medal for that. 20 years here, that's great. We did just have an executive session, and I apologize for keeping you all waiting in the wings there. So that was right before this meeting, and that was regarding real estate and personnel. We also had executive sessions March 8th for legal discussion and March 11th for personnel discussion. Just a couple of other little announcements. I'm sure I'll miss some, but on April 3rd, there's a clean energy webinar that's going to be held through the Henrietta Henkin Library on saving money on your taxes with energy updates, and maybe Kirk will tell us about that later. On April 6th, EAC will be having wild tree care at Bopolani Park. April 24th, Historic Resources is promoting an event with Bob Weiss on camp meetings in the 19th century Back to Nature meetings. And I know they were really popular when he did his bridge series recently. And on May 4th, Sustainability will be partnering with Ludwig's Corner Horse Show Association and Christine Howard to offer a shredding and battery recycling event at the Horse Show grounds. And one other thing, the West Vincent Township Bird Town was once again awarded the gold status, so that's pretty exciting too. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes of February 20th, 2024?
So moved.
Seconded. Any comments?
No. Oh, sorry.
Sorry, my printer's broken. I would have better examples of what I'm about to ask, but I have it here on my laptop.
Mm-hmm.
I would ask that these not be approved.
Okay.
Jamie McGregor, Blackbush Road. Because there are 4 or 5 places where, and the minutes are correct, but they're incomplete. There's a number of places where it says so-and-so, in most cases me, asked if blah, 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 but it doesn't say what the answer is. And I think it's important to get into the minutes what the answer was. In some cases it does say what the answer is, but other times it doesn't. And I do have a couple examples.
Well, just before you do give us an example, I just want to mention that this is something we've gone back and forth about, that I believe, Kathy, you said that that is the approved way to do minutes. Whether or not that's what we want to do, it is the official way is not to
It
do
gets to
that.
be a longer conversation. I'm not going to include the whole thing.
Yeah,
It's
these
too
were,
long.
right.
So I'll just put discussion continued. But in all reality, the real minutes, you don't have any of that discussion in there. You just have what the question they asked or the comment, and if there is a board decision on it. Other than that, we're not required.
Well, it's not consistent then, because some places it says, John asked blah, 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 and the township manager said blah, blah, blah. So
So it doesn't have.
personally, I think there's too much detail in here,
There
but if we're
is.
gonna do it,
And I've tried to cut it down, but then other people complain about it, so.
We definitely complained when there was no detail, and I think we're trying to find that happy medium, but is there something in there that you feel misrepresented that wasn't?
well, I do, because I think the things that were established with the questions and answers should be in the minutes. And I don't mean across the board, but some things, like in the 2 examples that are easy to find, Mr. McVicker asked Mr. Honorado if he spoke generally, not legally, saying that they cannot meet. It doesn't say that he agreed that he spoke generally, not legally, not from a legal standpoint. I think that's significant. I asked how difficult it would be to add a column to show where the funds stood last year. I asked if on the treasury report it would have a side-by-side of this point this year versus this time last year. It's not a big discussion to say, okay, I can do that, which is what Jackie said. Although
I
it didn't.
can, what I gave you was the P and L from last year to this year, so you could compare, gives you the same numbers, but I can put it on the report if you want.
I'm saying even in the, I mean, we can talk about this when you give your report. I'm just saying that in the meeting, Jackie agreed to do that.
I did, and I
don't-
forgot.
Yeah,
I'm
again, I'm
sorry.
not calling that out. I'm just saying that the minutes, it's a quick sentence, Jackie agreed to do that. So those are decisions that were made.
Of either putting everything in there, or just what the discussion is back.
But you're
Because I
trying to follow
can't please
Robert's
everyone.
rules.
I'm trying to do Robert's rules. And so I can't please everyone with what everyone is saying, so I have to cut it someplace.
The judgment call.
Yeah.
All right, well,
But again, in the same paragraph, I asked, did the township not pay health insurance? And it reflects the answer that was given. But if it's consistent, then, I don't know, I don't get it. If somebody asks a question and there's an answer, I don't know why the minutes wouldn't reflect that. I think that's a good summation of the activities of the township meeting. Now, if there's a long discussion of back and forth, we don't need every opinion, but if a question is asked and answered, and there's a conclusion to the question, then that conclusion should be in there. But if it's back and forth and this person said this and this person said that, that's where I think we put in too much, if anything.
I appreciate that.
And one other thing I'm gonna say is, normally, legally, they tell you when I was in training that you don't post draft minutes. Then this is why. So usually, you don't post minutes until they are approved by the board, so you have the whole correct, minutes as the board wants them, so.
But I hope we agree that that's, regardless of who does what, that's the bad idea, because that doesn't give us any chance to,
Yeah,
Well, that's the preferred way.
be that as it may.
Yeah, well,
Preferred way is the bad way. If we don't have a chance to look at the minutes, to offer comment, that makes no sense.
I disagree.
Yeah, I think we
Because-
like,
I'll tell you why I disagree. You still have an opportunity to do that. Once this board adopts the minutes, then you can get up at the next meeting and tell you why you disagree, like you're doing now.
But we don't have any time. It's presented, and we're supposed to speed read it through the,
It doesn't, you can do it next month.
but they've already been approved.
Sure, but it doesn't mean anything you say is gonna change the minutes. The minutes are for the board, it's the board's meeting and their minutes. And under the Sunshine Act, the requirement is to allow you to make a comment, not even to ask questions. This board goes above and beyond to allow you all to ask questions and sometimes give you answers. That's up above and beyond what the Sunshine Act requires.
But
I
sir,
understand what
we're
you're
not
saying.
looking for a board that
No.
just meets legal. We're looking for people who are responsive to the township,
Well,
from bottom up.
and-
Like,
and-
they're elected, but we're the power here. So if we have a problem with something, we have the right to say, no, you have it wrong, correct it.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm telling you is that there has to be an orderly flow of these meetings and the minutes, and it's the board's minutes of their meeting. And so, I agree with you in this regard. If you ask a question and the board answers it, the answer should be in the minutes as well, because that was an answer to your question. Board doesn't have to answer it, but if they do, whoever answered it, that should be in the minutes so that the question and the answer are included. So this board's policy is to give you the minutes in advance, fine. That would not be my recommendation, but if that's what they want to do, they can do that, and that's what apparently they are doing. But you can see how it leads to ongoing conversation about what should and shouldn't be in the minutes.
I don't see that, but I appreciate that the board does what's best for the people, not what's best for the lawyers. But I would still ask that you, not approve the minutes until, based on what Mr. Honorado just said, that it is a good idea to put the answer. I would suggest that we update the minutes to reflect that.
Before you leave the podium, Dave, if Jamie were to bring it in the next month and said, these were approved at the last meeting, but I have these changes I would like to see in it. It wouldn't go back and change the previous month, but it could be documented clearly enough in the current minutes to say, here's two places where the question was provided but not the answer, and the answers were one provided
Except that I don't
by-
think we're going to change the way we're doing it. We're satisfied with the way we're doing it. You had an opportunity.
I'm not sure we are satisfied if our residents aren't satisfied.
No, we're
But
doing
I'm-
what they are
I'm satisfied
satisfied
with the way
with.
it's being, I really appreciate, especially legally, it isn't the preferred way. If you're doing it, again, what's best for us and not for
Okay.
lawyers, I really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I think we probably could approve
You
it
can
with
approve
those
them. I
changes.
just, as policy, I
Okay?
think, yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Barry Libero, 1012 Pottstown Pike. First, I'd like to thank Jamie for finally coming on board with me because I've been arguing over this for a long time, coming up here talking about the minutes not being clear enough with things such as that. Second of all, you can't do a motion, comments from the audience when they can't read the minutes, so you have to have drafts. Drafts didn't used to be in until the late 2000s, 2008 or so. That got changed over, so that they ended up doing drafts for a while, so that people could actually look at them and decide. And there are critical things in there that things may be missed, and that's why I think it's important that they continue to do drafts so that people can point out mistakes in the minutes and get them corrected instead of them being in perpetuity. And then the next time around you go, oh, yeah, we got that wrong. And then what do? Withdraw the minutes and fix it and then bring it back? It's better to have the drafts. Yes, it can be a little bit of a problem. In the end, it's a better historical document. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
Carl, did you want to say something? You're just sitting over there. Okay. So Kathy, would it be problematic for you to add those two answers in there, or?
I
Should we
recommend.
go ahead without it?
No, I don't think you should. I think in the minutes of tonight's meeting, you reflect that these comments were made and what answers
Okay.
you wish to be in, wish had been in tonight's meeting, they'll be reflected in next month's meeting.
Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes as
Aye.
is?
As modified. Isn't that?
No, he just said,
No,
no,
I
he
just
said
think
doing
you-
it later. Are
you
you sure
approve the
that's your
comments.
answer? It doesn't matter, I can say as is.
Okay, I will vote to approve the minutes.
Okay. Motion passed unanimously, thank you. And Jackie, can you do the treasurer's report, please?
Sure.
And are we going to read that through? Didn't really decide if we were going to do that or not.
But the summary of all funds?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have to, I can just say that the total of all the summary funds for the township at the end of February 2024 was $845,000, $781.68.
Are there any comments? Does anyone feel they want more elaboration on that? I know last meeting it was suggested that you not just read what everyone has in front of them.
Any comment on that?
Hi, John, how you doing?
My treasury report supplement, John Aldridge, 1634 Hilltop Road in Bertrandville. Before I start, I'm sort of no longer allowed to meet with the township and to discuss accounting, and the township is not going to give me any balance sheets after 2021. Sorry.
What happened that you would have that thing about what the township's not allowing you?
Well, the last meeting we had, I was told that our lawyer said we should meet. And so we didn't. We met, right, and then they canceled it?
This was my point in the minutes. He didn't give a legal opinion that we can't meet. He gave a general opinion, and I think the general consensus, which I agreed with, was that until the audits are finished and we have accurate numbers, there's no point in doing that.
Okay. Okay, so, and at the same time, I didn't send the board an email and say, this is what I'm going to discuss at the meeting. Maybe it's a tit for tat, but that happens. The treasurer's report, which is here and which was online, I think is missing the capital project fund and the capital equipment fund. Those sections seem to be omitted. There's no budget numbers in the P&L. Do you know when that's going to happen, when that'll be included?
There are budget numbers in the P&L. There's only 2 months this year, so you're only going to see budget numbers for January and February.
Well, usually you put the annual budget in and no monthly, but there's never a monthly budget made. It hasn't been for several years. It's just the annual budget gets put into the column. And it's not here. Are you going to put the annual budget in?
The annual budget was put in, John.
In the monthly statements? In the general fund, the statements you publish? It used to be on these pages. Okay, well, we can check on whether that was ever done. On the P&L side of the issue, in the general fund, in the month of February, it showed there was a profit of $222,000. Year to date, our profit is $28,000. There happens to be a number in the general fund revenue of $166,000 of other.
It was a FEMA grant money that came in. It's not other. It goes under.
It's called other.
No, it was probably allocated wrong. It needs to be under the FEMA grants.
Okay. And I noticed in the general fund expenses, the first line is $50,000. It says employer contribution pension. And then the account number is 278, which seems to be a liability account versus an expense account. Is that misposted somewhere?
It's the 401A pension account.
Well, I know, okay, I grant that's what it is. Is it correct to be an expense, or should 278 be a liability account?
Well, it's an expense account, but it was set up that way previously, so we're working through all of that, John.
Okay, because it used to be, I think, by person or by department versus the first top line of everything.
Well, no, 457s are done by department because they're employee contributions. The 401As are the township contributions. So it's a lump sum of everyone. The township pays 7% of everyone's salary into the 401A.
Okay.
That's what that is.
Okay. I sent an email that compared the Keystone Collect's earned income tax for last year to what we had in our records. And it looked like there was a $225,000 discrepancy. Do you look at that?
I did look at it, John, and as I explained before, when you do the bank recs, the deposits have to match the bank statement, and they do. They're all reconciled perfectly. So if there was a $225 deposit made by Keystone, and it didn't show up on the bank statement, then it's not reflected in QuickBooks because it's not there.
Well, there's something easier than that. Keystone Collect said they gave us $225,000 more than we showed we got. Now, it could have gone somewhere. To keep your books in balance, if you put that $225,000 in real estate tax,
You mean EIT?
your books will be in balance. But
They won't, because then you can't reconcile the bank account if you add $225,000 to EITs that aren't actually in the bank.
so you're saying, they say we got $225,000 more than we got, and you're saying, well, it can't be.
It can't be, because I've reconciled every single bank statement for the entire year, and the balances match. So if I missed a deposit, you couldn't reconcile the account if you missed a deposit.
Yes,
You
well, I
understand
sent you
how
a
bank
thing.
recs work.
And circled 6 errors in your year in the...
Okay, and I'm telling you, when you do a bank rec, you have to go through it line by line, and everything has to match up in order for it to balance. And I do that, and I have the bank recs. So I hear what you're saying, and that deposit was not there.
Well, maybe we should go back to Keystone Flex and say, your records are wrong, we didn't get that. You sent us the money. There's just, doesn't seem like we should slough off with that $225,000.
We're slacking off with it, but we'll look into it.
And I mean, I have the records from them.
I have the records from them too.
Okay. And then I guess the age-old question, what's the status of the 2022 audit?
I don't have the answer for that.
Is it in progress?
I'll
Well,
let the
we'll
board
respond
answer.
now. As you know, the board hired Mr. Bob Betzkin to make adjustments to the 2022 QuickBooks. We reported last month that that was underway. He's completed that. We're trying to establish a meeting between him and the auditor. And as soon as that's set up, we'd hope to have it done by now, but it didn't take place. It's a very busy time of year for them. So as soon as that's set up, then the auditor can start his work. The audit has not started because we're trying to get the books in some sort of shape so the auditor can do his work. So that, the first part of that's been done. We're hoping.
When was that done? Was that done, I thought it was done last month or something.
No, it was, I'm losing track of the
It's
days.
definitely dragging out.
It was near completion, but we're waiting for him to make some final adjustments and to talk to the auditor. So we've had some conversations with both Mr. Beskin and the auditor. We want to get them together at a meeting that we can attend so that we can see what the transition is going to be between one and the other. So that's where we are.
Okay.
That should happen soon, and then we'll go from there.
Can we move on to expenditures? Did you have other questions?
Pardon?
Can we move on to the expenditures? Did you have other questions on?
No, I don't have any more questions.
Did anyone else have questions?
I have no more questions.
Thank you.
All right, two. I think, Jackie, there's something wrong with the way QuickBooks is set up. If you look at page 3 at the very top of the expenses, these are, for the most part, in numerical order. It's just the second thing on there, 410.116 is, and then 406, and then they all start in order, 400. But even to that point, the second line, police, sec, healthcare, has a negative balance, which I know they contribute towards the cost, but I don't see the cost of the police. I mean, I do see the police health insurance, which is on the next page, page 4, 2/3 of the way down, 410.196, as opposed to this line, which is 410.115. Seems like they should be combined into the same line.
410,115. 410,114 salaries. Like, health insurance is 410,196 for police insurance.
Right, the 30,000, but up here it has police, healthcare, a negative balance.
Which line item?
It's 410.116.
Well, that's police secretary healthcare.
So why is that a negative balance?
I have to look into that, Jamie. I don't know. I upload these from our payroll company because they do the withholdings. So obviously there's a mistake. I'll have to look into it.
Same with manager health insurance, it shows a negative balance for 2 months. The only other question I have is telephone charges. We have a big credit. Maybe $8,000, $9,000.
We got generous, I guess.
What line item is that, Jamie?
406.321. It came in February. There was almost just short of $9,000 credit in February after, well, it doesn't show what January was, but
Jamie, I'm missing pages out of my report here, my book. we must have gotten a refund, and it was applied to, oh, you know what that was? That was public works, because they were going to police and public works. So there's different line items for telephones, and the big telephone bill that comes in is for the police, and it was wrongly applied to public works, and so we had to reverse that.
Was that from last year?
No, that was last month? Yeah, it was last
So it
month.
should even out then. I mean, this is the year-to-date number of a credit balance.
Right, we just did it last month, so we took the amount that should have gone to the police and applied it there, and took out what was in public works. I guess it was more than it should have been, so we have to go back and look at that number. I have, Kathy's cutting checks, and she's still a little bit new, and I have another gentleman helping me with some of the QuickBooks issues. So these are things we have to look into, and
Okay.
we'll get to this.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, Jackie, can we move on to the expenditure summary bills list?
Yes. The general fund bills for February through March 13th were $278,112.92. The open space invoice was $189.51, and the capital road was $29,765.94, for a total of $308,068.37.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Can I have a motion to approve the expenditure list for all township funds in the amount of $308,068.37?
So moved.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none? All approved?
Aye.
Aye. Approved unanimously. And I think we did mention that we're not having the police do their summer reports any longer. It's going to be on the website. If anyone has questions about that or how to find it, please let us know.
Not there.
Sorry?
It's not on the website.
So I think it's going to be posted after the meeting, correct?
Well, there was none posted last one.
It should have been, do you know where it's being posted at?
We used to put those on, they will be on the police page of the website.
Okay. Did you try that there on the police page?
Yeah. It's January 24 is the January 23 report.
Ruth does it. so-
All right, we'll have to check with her
Check
We
tomorrow.
will check on that.
Could you post it before this meeting? Like, that way, if there's questions about it.
Is that the question?
Is there a reason why we can't do that?
She said no.
Yeah.
Because otherwise,
If not, I mean, if he wants us to read it, I don't mind us reading it. That's totally fine, but,
I think that's what he thought was going to happen.
well, we actually offered to do that, but then I thought it was said that it wasn't necessary, just post it, so we need to figure that out.
Oh, okay.
And we have to, if we don't have someone from the police here, if we get questions, we can't answer them till the next month. So we should think that through.
Yeah, we have to have a discussion about that before the next meeting, so thank you very much. Moving on, manager's report, please.
Okay, most of what's on my manager's report is not reportable for the meeting, so I would just jump into agenda items.
Okay. Our first new business is to discuss exoneration of an uncollectible tax lien at Fire Station Community Association. And I believe it was for an amount of some $9 and change. That's,
$9,
yeah, that's just on the,
I could make that motion.
okay. I don't think we have to make a motion, do we? It's
Well,
just-
it's-
Yeah, you have,
We do, oh, we do, okay,
You
yeah,
have to
we do.
send in the form saying you guys are willing to waive the $9.
Okay.
Motion to authorize Chester County Tax Lien Bureau to exonerate any tax liens on a certain parcels. Now, the one that I read was about a specific parcel. Is that
What's the open space parcel, is that not right?
due to the property being zero value open space per statute. And I thought I'm making
Well,
that
I would
motion.
second that.
Okay.
So, does anyone have any other questions about that?
I would like to share more,
Okay.
that it's part of the Fire Station HOA, a very small parcel that ultimately got turned over and the taxes hadn't been paid, so I'm voting to let them off the hook for $9.
Right, I think it would cost us more to argue that one. So we've already spent $9 on it, I think. So all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, authorization to issue an RFP for brokerage services related to a 401 deferred compensation plan. Can I have a motion to authorize that?
So moved.
I'll second.
And does anyone have any questions about that?
I think it would be good if Jackie explained to people what it's about.
Okay, so we have the 457 plan that the employees pay into. And they, we have two unions, we have a police union and a non-uniform union, and they both voted to move our 457s to Vanguard accounts. And so I spoke to a representative from Vanguard, and they're willing to take the 457s. But because the 401A plan is township money that is contributed on behalf of the town, the employees, it's taxpayer dollars, so it has to go out to bid. So we want to put that out to bid. Odds are that the same company that took over the 457s will take over the 401A, because as I understand it, most companies aren't going to bid on a 401A because the money's in the 457s. So we're hopeful that they'll both end up at the same company, but either way, the returns will be better at Vanguard, the staff believes, and that's why we want to move the 457s, and this is part of that process.
Can I just make a correction here, that the returns won't be better, the expenses will be much less.
Yes, that's
So, okay.
Okay, so are we all in favor on that?
Well, any other questions?
I guess that first.
Okay. Okay. Are you calling the vote?
Yes.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. Now, we have on here authorization for, to put a date for a workshop to discuss a plastic ban, but we're actually not ready to do that. I think what we would like to do is just discuss the ban that was posted, and the question is if the right one was posted. We do have a couple of members here in the audience from Sustainability, Chris Taylor and Kirk Ramble, if they want to tell us a little bit about.
Sure, Chris Taylor, chairperson for Sustainability Committee, 13 Phillips Lane. I've been chair for 6 months and maybe a couple months after that. And we've been trying to get together the ordinance to have a plastic ban, bag ban, and straws, as well as clamshell styrofoam that would be enacted throughout the township so that the stores will have a 180 days leeway to understand what's happening and the opportunity to write in for a petition if they felt like it was an undue burden for them. But we're looking to just match what our neighboring townships do so that we are not polluting the environment and helping to reduce waste.
Chris, can I ask a question? So are you limiting this to the clamshell styrofoam? How about the, let's say, coffee cups that are styrofoam?
All styrofoam,
All styrofoam.
Styrene.
yeah. Sorry, styrofoam's a
Styrofoam and styrene
name brand,
are similar but not exactly the same. Go ahead.
yeah.
Okay.
And if anybody possibly saw on the website, I'm not sure if it was posted or not, but there was another version floating around which included plastic utensils and plastic
Drink cups.
and plastic packaging for food products, but that was not supposed to be posted, so that is not what we're talking about doing. We're not getting that strict on it. So if anyone has a question for Chris or Kirk, please, feel free.
So what is it you want to ban specifically, exactly and completely?
Uh,
Everything that you want to...
Take out plastic bags at point of sale,
Okay.
and giving the opportunity to those stores to offer paper bags or the reusable bags, whatever they feel is appropriate. If it's paper bags, they can charge the 15 cents. That's standard in the area to recoup their costs. Banning plastic straws, and banning the styrene type products that are like wrapping food. Not to include anything that's like prepackaged that you could buy at the store, or it's just at the point of sale where you have someone putting something in a bag that you've already purchased, that we're trying to eliminate, those types of bags.
So you put your grapes in the plastic bag and take it to the counter.
So why are we doing this? There are studies that are showing that those bags actually are not any more environmentally destructive than the reusable bags. And when you have paper bags and you require a 15-cent purchase price per bag at POS, why are you then telling the merchant that they must? Because it bothers me when I go to the store and I forget to bring a bag with me. I'm making a quick stop, and now I have to buy a bag. The merchant would like to give me a bag, but they're not allowed to give me a bag. So all of these things, we don't have a plethora of bags laying around, and they're not ending up in the ocean. We're too far from the ocean. So, and those bags often get recycled by the people who receive them. I know I reuse them for lots of things. They're very handy. I use them in my wood shop. I keep a lot of damp wood in bags, and I use them again and again. I would like to get us out of this business. I understand your motivation, but I don't think it's our business. Because unless you're going to ban all plastics fully, full stop, I don't think it makes sense. And I sure don't want you telling me that I can't get a more durable to-go package. A paper or plant-based package is not durable long-term. When I receive the goods, take it home, put it in the fridge, it's my business if I want it to last for a day or 3 days in the fridge. The plastic-coated paper that you're going to use for recycling, for take-out, is also plastic lined. So it's not for the banning of plastic. Aluminum cans are plastic lined. It's everywhere. It would be nice if it was something else. And paper straws suck. Don't tell me that there's a big environmental problem. We need, if I leave a straw in a cup for an hour for an iced coffee, or my wife does. That straw is toast in a half hour. Now what? I go buy another straw, so I've gotten 2 straws, greater impact than 1 straw. Nothing personal, but let the market.
Buy a reusable straw.
And then what? Now I'm gonna go home, I'm gonna wash it every day, then carry it with me in my pocket.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No, that's ridiculous.
Listen, you can place bags in clamshells, you can't have straws.
So, I am not gonna participate in I'm not buying a reusable straw, because it's just lunacy. It's lunacy. If I need a straw and the merchant would like to give me a straw, can we just have a straw that's durable? I will put it in the waste when it's done. I'm not going to leave it on the road. That's where I think this needs to be. And we're a municipality. This is not our bailiwick. This is not what we can't administer the rest of the things around here. We don't need to do more. I sincerely believe that. It's not personal. This is just too far.
I hear you.
Thank you. That's wrong.
Duly noted. Yes?
Is the philosophical, to understand the philosophical genesis of this.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sorry, could you just give your name for?
Oh, I'm sorry, Jim Hanna, 1152 Hollow Road. Are we trying to regulate the windy day plastic bags? Or are we trying to do our little part here in West Vincent to produce less of that, which is going to the handlers of our waste? Which of those two is motivating this?
Go ahead.
Kirk Reinbold, 668 Birch Run Road. That's a great question. We're basically trying to reduce pollution, which plastic is. Okay, or
In which,
reduce waste.
that's my specific question. In which lane? In which lane are we talking about?
Give me the 2 lanes again?
Well, is it
Phillips stop.
because, do we see plastic bags and plastic straws all up and down our lovely country roads?
That's one.
Or are we trying to regulate and control how much plastic waste we are handing over to the people who handle our waste?
I would say it's joint equal.
So the litter lifters, which is community-based cleanup, picks up hundreds of bags throughout the township a year. I don't have the exact number, I just know it's a lot. I mean, that stuff flies out of the trucks, people throw it out the window, it looks clean, but it's being managed by your neighbors. Don't assume that that is just the natural way that the roads are around here.
And they are working very hard at that. They've been out consistently with big groups of people and just huge piles of trash. So it's out there.
Huge piles of trash doesn't mean necessarily huge piles of plastic bags and plastic straws.
Well, it actually does. I mean, if you talk to the litter lifters, their number one problem is plastic bags. And
Oh, here's
bottles.
a little
Leave a little
vice
bit
chair
there.
right
He's
here.
trying to hide.
But we're not banning plastic bottles because they typically do get recycled, not always.
You mentioned that someone said all of the surrounding townships already have this in place.
A fair amount of them,
A
yes.
fair amount of them, it's
Yes.
not all.
Right, we're over 50% in Pennsylvania. Go ahead.
Julia Brendel, 2472 Flowing Springs Road. Which townships are banning straws?
Westtown,
Westtown.
Tredyffrin,
They're different. They're
Euclid.
not surrounding. Euclid
I
maybe.
think Upper Euclid's working on a ban too.
Yeah, and our ordinance is modeled on the Euclid.
Yes, it's modeled on the Euclid ban.
Which does
That's a
not
great
touch
one,
us.
since they just want to put up houses everywhere, but they don't want straws.
It's kind of funny.
And with more people come more trash. More
Whatever happened to
apartments,
all
more
the
trash.
trees we were killing with all the paper bags that we had to switch to
Well, they're
plastic? What happened to
charging
that?
for
Trees
them.
are
They're charging
sustainable, renewable
people
resource.
Yeah.
Ah.
I'm not sure charging brings them back to life, though.
But it would stop them from taking them.
Say what?
Don't you think, people don't like to paper shop, so I think it's a deterrent to single use.
I love my Trader Joe's paper bags. They get so many uses, but I don't like paying 15 cents because I've been carrying reusable bags for.
Well, I carry
Quite a while.
reusable bags, and I don't have any problem with
Let's
that.
do it.
My straws are the ones that really, I will,
Okay, so can I just say that this is
Dies,
a
but
really
you get straw
lively
ban.
discussion that will probably go on all night, and maybe we do actually need to pick a workshop date, so I think we're going to make it May 6th. Right, that's the date? Right.
That's my
Yeah.
birthday, but okay.
Yes. Okay, so we'll have, we will, what's that? Yeah, we did have an option of April Fool's Day to talk about this, but we thought that would not be productive.
Fair enough.
It was also the day after Easter.
Thank
Sorry, do you, one more comment, Donna?
I
before
can't
we-
resist.
Okay.
That's the staff here.
We'll give you one more comment, and then we really need to move on.
Donna Delaney, 2147 Beaver Hill Road, and I can talk really fast. Kirk and I got to take a tour of the Mascaro Brothers recycling facility, and it's magnificent. It's this magnificent thing that humans have built. It's enormous. Dump trucks, many trucks and bulldozers drive around inside this building, and they look minuscule. And it's this testament to single-use human innovation. So every minute, less than a minute, big trucks pull in and dump single-use items. And then bulldozers move them around, and they go through this enormous facility that it costs $1 billion to build. And all the trucks cost a lot of money, and all the fuel for the trucks costs an enormous amount of money and pollution. And they recycle things really well, and they love to tell you about it. And all of it is completely unnecessary. All these single-use things are totally unnecessary, and we're destroying the environment. And we could just Like 50 years ago, they didn't, maybe more than that, maybe 70. They didn't give you straws and people all lived. Like, we just have to find a new way of doing things. So thank you for doing this.
Thank you, Joan. Okay, let's move along. The next item was to discuss animal waste ordinance, which is something that we do need to do for our MS4 waiver, which you
Yeah.
want to tell us a little bit more about that?
Okay, so the MS4 program is sweeping through the state, and we have gotten waivers for many, many years because our community is still relatively small in comparison to the rest of the state. But as a requirement to get our next waiver, we have to have an animal waste ordinance in place to protect the streams and creeks from, animal excrement and sediment and stuff that will go into it. So they said that they're willing to give us the waiver, but we have to do an animal waste ordinance. So in order to save hundreds of thousands of dollars in engineering fees for an MS4 permit, I think that this is the better way to go.
Okay, and we do actually have to advertise.
We have to put this out for advertisement. Dave, our solicitor, did put this together for the township. It's relatively innocuous. It's not going to create lots of strain or problems for anybody. Basically, if your dog poops, pick it up.
And I think that's on the website for people to look at now?
It's on the website now? Yeah.
Okay. So does anyone have any questions or comments about this animal waste ordinance?
Sorry.
Oh, wait, but
Oh,
we have a new face.
Do you get along?
He knows what I'm gonna say.
Jim Scott brought up 40 Buttonwood Lane. What is domestic? It says any dog or domestic animal. So what falls into that is livestock?
Cats are not domestic.
Bunny
animals.
rabbits.
They're not domestic animals? No.
Any domestic-
Wait, if you're
any
able to
animal
walk
that's
it and it's gonna poop and you can pick it up, I think that's what's expected.
So we're talking horse,
Could be.
could be. Okay, I think we just need to maybe outline that a little bit more.
I don't think our intention is to include horses.
Well, I think that
Thanks, James.
we're doing this because MS4 is requiring us to do it, so we have to make sure that we have, our ordinance has the minimum that the state would require us to have. So I modeled this after a number of neighbors who have very similar ordinances. East Vincent, Euclid, and others, most others have an ordinance similar to what I put together.
And we're not suggesting that you need to carry a poop bag with your horse.
No, but in order to get a waiver, there has to be something in place, township has to have something on the ordinance books that says we could enforce it if we needed to. So if there's a problem, and if it's getting into the streams, et cetera, we have the ability to take action if need be.
Sorry, Julia Rindall, 2472 Flowing Springs Road. What exactly does it say? Domestic animal?
Mhm.
Wouldn't horses be considered livestock?
I don't know.
Semantic.
That's the animal. It says the requirement is that a domestic animal, so if it's domesticated, and that's a definition, we don't have a definition.
We didn't provide a definition.
This probably should.
No, we didn't.
I think one of the issues is people letting the horses do excrement in the streams and creeks. I think that the DEP has a real problem with that. I think that's part of this.
Right.
So if we know that people are putting their horses in the creeks and streams and letting them do their business more.
Well, if that's what we're talking about, then you have a bigger problem because you've got cows that have creeks and streams going through farmland and things like that. Like, now you're talking about something way bigger.
I'm just telling you, this is the DEP's concern, and this is why they're asking us to pass this ordinance. Are we gonna have, animal poop police running around town chasing people? I don't think so. But if it becomes an issue where we know there's a problem, like we do have a problem with a particular horse group that poops all over the street and then just leaves it there, and then the road crew has to go and clean it up frequently. So if we have an ordinance, we can say to them, we have an ordinance, could you please pick your horse manure up?
So it doesn't prohibit domestic animals from defecating. It prohibits domestic animals in certain places. On the gutters, streets, driveways, alleys, curbs, sidewalks of the township,
But if
in
we
any building, etc.
If we were worrying about the streams, though, wouldn't that be a DEP problem, not ours?
Well, it's part of the MS4.
MS4, so if it's in the curbs, it's on the streets, it gets washed into the sewer, storm sewer system, allegedly into the streams, etc. So it all washes there.
Now, I had a question because when I read
It's
over.
okay in private property, so it's not, you gotta pick up after your cows or your horses. But if you take your horses and you're walking them on the
No, I
roads,
hadn't had that in there.
then there's
But
no.
it's not here.
But I,
What's that?
okay, so this morning, I think I had said, I had the question about adding back in hunting dog
I have it in
as
there.
an
It's just-
exception. I
it's
just,
just not
it
in
wasn't
this
on this
version.
It's
previous
not in
version.
the copy.
And the other thing was, I objected to the fact that there was something about urination that made it sound like your dog can't pee in the park, which is kind of impossible. I think you changed that too, right?
Well, no, urination may be required under the requirements, but it's where, understand, it's where you can get into the stormwater system. And they're into the creeks and lakes, et cetera, that they're concerned about in the MS4 laws.
Well, that being, I mean, if you're saying that, then anyone who has a creek or a lake that goes through their private property that has pasture adjacent to that water,
Well,
or can we go with like the minimum, pick up after your dog?
Yeah.
I mean, are we able to just say pick up after your dog and end it there, or are we gonna then go after?
We have to fulfill the requirements of the MS4.
Well, that's what I'm saying, what is the minimum under the requirement of the
That's
MS4?
what Dave put in the ordinance.
We've been kind of
It's
paring
the
it back, so maybe we need to do a little bit more.
Well, we need to get the hunting dogs.
Yeah, absolutely,
back in
hunting
here.
dogs need an exception,
I
and that is
did
in
that
the new version, we just don't have it there.
Why do hunting dogs get an exception and livestock don't?
Well, it's the same thing, horses are hunting, it's the same thing, they get an exception, we're not expecting you to stop on the hunt and go pick up after them. It's absolutely not reasonable.
I think we're raising another issue that we've got a document that doesn't match what you're asking us to vote on
I'm not actually voting.
advertising.
No, we're not voting on
I'm
it all.
actually voting tonight. I changed it, I sent it to the township. My latest version is not what's in your book. So.
But it is what's online, that the public has a chance to weigh in
Shall
on
we
before
add
we
it to
advertise.
our workshop in May?
I don't think we have time to do it in May, didn't we have to pass this sooner than May?
Well, we didn't pass it sooner rather than later,
Opposed to-
waiver. You're not gonna give us the waiver until we pass the ordinance.
Paper bags if you light on fire.
And
But
how
if
much
it's
time
not,
do we have?
if what we have is not a complete, it's not,
And I don't know that it's on private property, I think it's on public property,
It is on public
that you
property.
have to do this, not in your house.
Okay.
You gotta read the whole ordinance.
So what you're saying is if I'm out riding and my horse poops in the road, I have to go back and pick it up?
Yeah, but if you're at the butterscotch, maybe you want to grab the shovel and take it.
Yeah. Or you want to use horse diapers, and just put on back.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna work.
That'll go well.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right, we'll see how
Believe me,
this
we are
goes.
very cognizant of that,
Yeah, but
so being
it's
friendly
not on
to
your-
horses.
It's
so
not on your horse.
we're not voting to advertise this, then we have time to make changes on it.
Well, we would have to delay it another month. I'm trying to
Is
get
that
the
okay?
waiver.
I mean, we'll be all
I
right
mean, I
with
guess
that?
it would be
Because
okay.
Otherwise, we could advertise it with the changes we're discussing.
Right, we could do that.
But we haven't had a chance to review those.
Well, Dave did send it over to us,
But if you wanna
and we can
discuss
discuss
it
what we
again
don't
next
know.
month, just push it off to next month.
I don't want it to.
Jim, would you have a comment?
Jim Hanna, 1152 Hollow Road. Is the MS4, the MS4 that's sweeping the state, as we began the conversation, pardon my ignorance, what's the MS4?
Okay, it's stormwater runoff issue, so you know what stormwater runoff is?
Of course.
Okay, So the DEP a few years ago came up with this ruling that every township has to have an MS4 plan to make sure all of our stormwater runoff goes clearly into the storms and creeks without polluting it, which involves a full township engineered plan for MS4, which is going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars just for the engineered plans, and then we've got to implement it. So it's a very expensive undertaking. So in lieu of that, they will give us another waiver, which is a 10-year waiver. But to do that, we have to pass this animal waste ordinance, because that's the minimum requirement they have of us right now, is to say, okay, you still don't have, 10,000 people, so we're not going to force this, but you do have enough people that we want to make sure that some things are in place, and this is one of them.
Have we been operating on a waiver thus far?
Yeah. For years.
How long has that been?
About 20-some years.
Oh,
Yeah, and eventually, it's not like we're thinking we never want to solve these problems. Obviously, we're.
I'm thinking that.
But you don't want to fix the stormwater problems, but, we're picking them up as we can, and the hope is that by the time we're forced to implement everything, it'll be within range of budget.
So we're currently hammering out an ordinance that we hope will comply with,
So we get the ordinance.
so we get the waiver.
We need to
Right.
comply with state law.
Yeah, we have to
We would
comply
be
to
in big
get the
trouble if we did.
We're, in just our casual conversation here, we're assuming a lot of, they won't bother us if you're,
No, they
they
told me
won't,
they
they
will give
won't
us,
come.
no, they told me they will give us the waiver if we pass this ordinance. They flat out
Simply
told me
pass the
that.
ordinance.
If
They're
we
not gonna
pass
come
this
in and look at our
ordinance-
enforcement of the
Not
ordinance
yet.
next year.
Nope, they just said if we pass this ordinance, we will get the waiver. That's what their email said. So that's simply.
So a year and a half from now, when we have another meeting about this, and you say, well, they came to here, this budget item, when they came down hard on us.
No, I mean, they haven't bothered us in the last 20 years, so
They might want
they're very
something else
busy.
next
I
year.
don't think they're gonna be knocking on our door.
Well,
anytime
everybody's busy with a lot of things, but we seem to find a lot of pick and fly shit out of pepper, pardon my coarse vernacular.
soon. I don't disagree with you.
Okay.
The problem is, I didn't come up with this.
No, I understand
We're just
that.
trying to get the waiver.
I understand. I understand.
I do have
The path of
here,
least resistance.
it is municipal separate storm sewer systems, that's the MS4. It is a municipal separate storm sewer system, MS4. Is publicly owned conveyance or system of conveyances, ditches, curbs, etc., designed or used for collecting or conveying stormwater and discharges to surface waters of the state. It is municipal stormwater.
I understand.
It's not that comes down the hill at you or goes from your property further downhill.
I don't currently have any animals on my 9.5 acres, but I do have along the road, municipal water removal,
Right,
storm drains and things.
yeah, but the municipality is responsible for maintaining that.
I understand that, but the municipality's not gonna take responsibility for the horses that I get, and the sheep that I get, and the runoff how,
But now we're saying if someone's walking their dog and it's
yeah, we covered
right there,
that,
that
on the
they've got to
street.
pick that up.
But you're saying that private property is somehow exempt from this, that the water magically cleans itself
Well-
when it leaves your property to the...
We're saying we can't.
There's a limit to everything,
We
I
can't
guess, and what
do anything about it.
And the thing is, right, it's what we can enforce, we can't enforce private property. So whatever happens on your private property happens on your private property. Just
Okay.
don't take it on the street.
So at the next meeting, we might have a working ordinance to look
Well,
at?
yes, we're gonna work toward that.
Maybe it'll be posted on the website prior.
Yeah, I would suggest that if anyone has comments to what's currently up there, to please let us know, and we'll come up with something else for next meeting.
Is
And
that, that's the
hopefully we
most
can go with
current
that.
one that's
Mhm.
posted right now?
And this does talk.
It's not what we have.
Not just about
Right.
streets and township sidewalks. Any private property other than the property of the owner of such animal. So,
So I think we're going to table that unless there's any other questions, and we're going to come back to that next month. I can't wait. So I also wanted to discuss, this is going to be fun too, the bamboo ordinance. Okay, and this is something that has come from burn it off. This is something that's come out of a safety issue that we've had with,
Yeah, Mike Koga, our Public Works Director, during one of the recent snowstorms said that the bamboo up on St. Matthews Road literally fell down into the middle of the street, which caused a car to go off the side of the road, and it was unable to pass. And this happened in a couple of other places around the township, because bamboo is invasive and is being planted too close to the edge of the road, so it is falling into the street during heavy snow. So it's become an issue, and Mike has approached me multiple times about passing an ordinance to remove bamboo that's close to the street or in the right of way, and that if people plant bamboo, that they be responsible for it not invading into the right of ways.
and it actually is on the invasives list, so we don't want people planting it, but I think we want to talk about it first, because as much as that sounds great, it's not really very easy to eradicate, and, I think the township even owns some bamboo as well that needs to be dealt with, so, it needs a little bit more discussion about how to control it.
Yeah.
Well, what I provided to you was an ordinance that I had done for another municipality back in 2018, pretty comprehensive, as just food for thought. Doesn't mean you have to adopt this one.
Well, and that gave you 2 months to get it out, which didn't seem appropriate when we're talking to some people who were trying to get people to remediate for them, and they couldn't even get an appointment in that amount of time. And it's very expensive, and there's a lot to it.
So this is just an idea of what one could look like.
Yeah.
We can have a discussion about it, how much you want. You could just maybe just regulate how close it's planted next to roads to start with. And so that's, required to be cut back from the right of way. You could do, minimize what we have here. This is just a sample of what I have done in other places.
Well, another question that came up too, we talked about this in an EAC meeting, and another question that came up was a lot of the areas that are in the National Heritage Area have bamboo in them, and what that means is they're on that list because there's species that are endangered, and there's a concern that, if we're going to be eradicating the bamboo, we need to be cautious of the species that are living in it too. So I think there's more that we need to consider on it. We definitely don't want it laying about in the road, and we don't want what happened in a previous storm, which was, it was a really nasty ice storm, and we had police and road crew hacking it back in the middle of the storm, and it's not, we want to find that happy medium of how do you keep it safe, how do you keep it contained, and
let's see if we could get it off our own property before we require other people to do it. Upon the effective date of this chapter, the planting, cultivating, and/or growing, if it's growing on my property, I'm not deliberately doing that. So it's like right away I have to get Bernie's blowtorch out there and burn it all off.
That section talks about going forward. There's also another section that talks about if it's already there.
Well, this is under general provisions.
Okay, well, there's another section under E that says it has been planted or otherwise permitted to grow on the property within the township prior to the effective date of the chapter may remain on such property subject to compliance with the following. Then it lays out essentially cutting it back from sidewalks and roads. So you have to read the whole ordinance. So there's part of it that says don't plant it anymore. You can't plant it going forward and cultivate it. But if you have it, at least cut it back from the roadway and from the sidewalks. So you have to read the whole thing.
Can we make it shorter?
Yeah.
again, I would just suggest that people send in comments on that. Did you have something to say, Kurt?
Is there a setback for this bamboo? Curb rambled 668 per.
Yeah, well, this one, again, this is just a sample. So this one suggests, I think it's 10 feet from any property line and 40 feet from any roadway, carway, street, storm sewer, source and sanitary sewer.
40, yeah, because, you know.
40 feet
Yeah, 'cause
setback?
they grow plus 30, and so, you know, you want to make sure that.
Yeah, but what about all the vines? What about all the trees that are growing, that are here, that aren't bamboo, that are right on the road, Bernie?
Because they're not affected as easily in a snowstorm.
I don't know, I've driven around like a month ago, there was a huge.
Granted, you know, nothing's perfect, but I'm
These are
just
gonna come
telling you,
down.
when you have a stand of bamboo that is 10 feet from the road, it's gonna block the road, like it has.
Yeah, but there are other invasive plants and shrubs and just plain trees.
We're not trying to be perfect
Right
here.
there.
We're not trying to be perfect, we're just trying to
Well, why are you, I mean, I'm not,
assuage what our Public Works Department needs to keep our roads clear.
okay, but,
Bamboo's in a class of its own, it's a really
well, I know,
unusual.
but there's, let me talk about, biking. Okay, one of the big challenges of kids biking in this township is that they don't do it. The reason they don't do it is the roads are very narrow. The reason they're very narrow is because there's trees and shrubs right there on the side of the road. Not just that, there's branches right at the asphalt. I mean, you'll see logs that were cut up, been there for years. Okay, so now you're trying to pass this bamboo ordinance for whatever reason, because there was a snowstorm. Why don't you try clearing off like 3 or 4 feet everywhere?
No.
So that people can bike and bike safely. And if there's a car coming and the potholes are, I won't even go into the potholes, but the kids can go off on the road.
It's still not gonna stop the bamboo from going over, and there are bamboo.
I don't
ordinances
care
all
about the
through
bamboo, Jackie.
All the other townships.
There's all this other stuff
You're
that's
always saying
going
other
on.
townships do things, well, a lot of other townships. have
Okay, I
bamboo
mean, if we're
ordinances.
gonna have clearance of our roads, we're gonna have a bikeable community.
Well, I would
Trees
suggest
don't fall
that,
over.
They're back.
Kirk, I would suggest that you come out to the next traffic safety meeting where they're talking about the multimodal plan and how to implement safer ways to get
Are
around.
those scheduled on the calendar?
Oh, they're every other month. They just had one, I don't know, Ken?
Second Thursday.
May 9th is next.
Except that,
May 9th,
I-
next one?
so at the last meeting, I asked if there were other plants that caused such a road hazard.
Oh, yeah.
But it's not, the one that I came up with, that I heard about, is not an invasive, it's the hemlocks. Because the hemlocks have those tight little needles, and
I think just choosing an ordinance based upon one species is silly, unless you take a look at all the different types of plants and shrubs that are around here, and how they affect, you know, falling into the road.
Thank you.
Okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Barry.
I say we have bamboo straws.
With a big goal.
And Malcolm at Fresh, by the way.
Well done.
Give it back.
See, the writing's.
Carl Bogwitz. So I had a discussion with the roadmaster more than once about dead trees and other things, standing dead trees, other safety concerns that have been brought up in the past in the township. And he said that the rules have changed, that he's not allowed, the township's not allowed to go after these things, which I found interesting. There's a stand of bamboo on Horseshoe Trail near Hollow. The township went after that stand a few times. That stand is almost obliterated now, but it would follow Horseshoe Trail when we would have snow or ice. And the township would go in with the boom mower and deal with it. The landowner knew it was there. The landowner used to be the school board president. He was fully aware of municipal involvement. Township would do it. It's just beat to hell, but it's dealt with. Couldn't we just take that approach, empower the road department to take care of these things? If they're not allowed to take out, we used to have to do this on a regular basis. We'd orange out trees that are dead. There's one on Hollow Road at Zuber's Pond. That it hasn't fallen is extraordinary. It's an engineering feat. I mean, really, everybody probably knows this tree. We just need to push it over. But he apparently talked with the property owner, and they were resisting this. It's in the right-of-way. The right-of-way belongs to the township. Anyone who puts anything in the right-of-way, like boulders to keep you from driving on the grass, or snow plow markers, Those are violations. They don't have an entitlement for them to be there. There's no legal protection for the boulders along the road. The township can move them and make the landlord pay for it. So why aren't we just taking that approach? I believe the township has this power in an emergency situation or any other to take our boom mower and make it go away. It's already there. I believe this power is here. Can we just verify that and let them go do what they need to do? They already mow stuff that some people think they don't need to mow, and others say, go ahead. I think that would be the best solution. And you don't, it just makes this, I don't have a problem with the idea of the ordinance. But I think there's the quick, easy, down and dirty, it's in the right of way, it's dealt with.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Which is the right way.
Julia Brendel, 2472 Florence Springs Road. Aren't we taking down a bunch of trees that are in the right of way because they're blocking sight lines?
Yes.
Can't we do the same exact thing with the bamboo?
Well,
If they're blocking the site.
Well, it's blocking the sight line when it's laying in the road, so I guess.
So to have our public works go around the entire township and take out the bamboo, it would not be a quick, easy job. It would take a lot of manpower, a lot of hours to get it all done. So it's not really.
And it keeps coming back. is the
Right, and
problem
so,
with
you
bamboo.
know, Mike is just asking for help because it's a problem for them. They are taking down dead trees. We've had to rent a crane. It costs about $3,000 a day to remove the trees. So it's not an inexpensive thing to do, and we are working towards getting them all done. There's a lot of dead ash trees. We're working towards that, and we'll get there. It's just not going to happen overnight.
Is the township doing that, or you're hiring that out?
Well, they've had to rent cranes and stuff to get the big trees out. They do what they can, but they can't always remove all the trees.
Yes,
But
subbing it out car.
We are studying that, our road crew is not doing the treatment.
No, some of it it's about $3,000 a day, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
But I hope we're not just cutting trees in the right of way unless they.
No, there has to be contact, absolutely dead before we take
And
them down.
have we heard from PICO about their trimming schedule for this year?
Yeah, no, I haven't. Usually, Espondi they'll send us a list of where they're going to trim, and I haven't received anything.
Yeah. Was it 3 years ago when all of the orange ribbons showed up all over the township? And
Well,
at that time, Jackie, they said 2024 was their trimming year.
well, yeah, it's usually every couple of years, but I have not received anything yet, but I'll let you know as soon as I do.
There's nothing else, can we move on? Anyone else on this?
Will we talk about this at that same workshop?
We can discuss if we would like to do that, sure, but again, I think we want to just get it out to the public, these are ideas, and get some feedback, so. So this is a fun one here, discuss the Lawn to Meadow program at Evans Park, and Barb, did you want to talk to us about that a little bit, or?
Looks like we have a whole cast of.
Yeah, we have a few people who are supporting that. I'll put you on the spot.
Hi, Barb Mako, 2239 Beaver Hill Road. So, DCNR, the Department of Natural
Conservation.
Thank you. They actually have funding to convert grass to meadow. And they actually contract directly with contractors who do this type of work. And so we were looking at areas that would fit this criteria, and we were looking at Evans Park, and specifically the lawn that's over the pipelines, or gas pipelines, because we can't do that, anything there anyway. So what I proposed here is that we would, that the board of directors would, supervisors would go ahead and approve this proposal that I'm doing, so that we would have more force behind us to move forward when we try and get approval for what we need to, from the gas company to do this conversion, and also from the DCNR, et cetera. So Anything you
Yeah,
want to
so
add?
essentially, you're really coming to us to make sure that we're behind you before you put all this effort out into it.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah, we could do that contingent upon approval from the pipeline company. I don't think that's,
And which pipeline company is it?
well, there's 4 of them, but I think that the one that's most concerning is it the Texas one?
Yeah.
There was a pipeline, there's a
I think
pipeline,
there's
there's
fiber
4
optics, too.
pipelines there. There's one that's only 3 feet under the ground, and it was put in during the war very hastily. So I don't know how secure it is, and I think the pipeline company is very concerned about that. And so they do drive planes up and down the pipelines to see if there's brown spots in the grass, which is indicative of gas leaks. And so when you cover that, that becomes a problem, and that's why they're reluctant to allow this. I think they're gonna let you do it. I think we just have to get the right approvals from the right people, and then we can go ahead and do it. But I don't think we can just go ahead and do it without that.
I agree with that. So I didn't realize that
Yeah,
it
there's a
was
lot
so
more.
close to the surface.
Yes, so I
Well,
mean, there's a
but-
lot more to this than just, we don't want you to plant flowers, because I love flowers.
Well, and there are some benefits. Do you want to mention some of the benefits? Am I putting you on the spot, or you want me to read them off?
Oh, no, I actually printed them off.
Okay, I think you were
So,
prepared.
So
Just count.
it improves the water quality because it has increased stormwater filtration, nutrient reduction, and erosion reduction. It promotes healthy soils. It increases native plant biodiversity, wildlife, songbird, pollinator habitat, carbon sequestration and storage. And then I put in there that we're going to reduce the mowing, because we mow it every week during spring, summer, and fall. So if we only mow it once a year, which is all that a meadow needs, I mean, imagine the savings of that and the time and effort. So,
Then we could be mowing down bamboo.
Yeah, and like I said, I think the flowers are a wonderful idea. I just think we have to get the right approvals first. And I don't know if you saw, in Center County, Pennsylvania, their actual township blew up because there was a dirt slide and it hit their pipeline and it blew up. So if you Google that, you can see the pictures. It was devastating. And there's 4 pipelines under there. So if one blows, they're all going to blow. So we need to just follow the rules from the
Everybody's
pipeline
houses are
company.
going to go up for sale soon, Julie.
The pipeline company has a reason for the rules. Let's just get their okay and then move forward. I do think they'll eventually give us the okay. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time.
I expect we'll get the okay as well. But if the ones that are 3 feet under were done in World War II, we should be warning our residents rather than worrying about where we're going to plant a meadow. Because the one that goes straight across, not the Phillips Road one, but the one that's on the west side, where it crosses Horseshoe Trail on the west side of Hollow Road, that one is the one that's been there forever. So, so what are we going to do about this? And is a DCNR program only for municipal properties?
oh, no, it's private property.
So have we found private properties that don't have pipelines?
Well, I think we have to, my understanding of that, and Donna, maybe you can say this better, but my understanding is that the municipal program is, you would get maybe a $50,000 grant, and then you could give it out to your residents. Is that correct? Something of that
So
sort?
that could be a program.
I
That's
don't
not
think
the
you
one
can go right
I'm
to the
talking about. The
residents.
program I'm talking about deals directly with property owners as well as municipalities. Now, that would be something different.
Maybe they changed it since
So,
we talked about it.
but your proposal just shows 2 pieces of this park.
Yes.
So how do we take the step from there to private property?
I think, can I say?
Oh, sure.
Okay, so what Barbara's trying to say is DCNR has money for specific projects. And we're applying for that for Evans Park. And everybody here can also apply for that for their own homes. They also have
requirement of how many acres you have to have?
1/4 acre is the minimum.
They also have a municipal program where a municipality can apply for a grant, and the EAC wants us to do that next. And the municipality would be given money, and then we could manage that to help our residents to convert their own lawn to meadow. So that, the municipal program is not what we're using here on the park.
So when they give you the money and they give you the vendors, the landscape people who will be doing the work, do you need to follow their methods? Do you have to use their methodology?
So, that can be negotiated, and it has been negotiated, and we would definitely want to, we wouldn't agree to that till everyone was happy with the method.
Okay, because of course you put a link in, so I went and read it, and it says I have to use Roundup. And it's like, I don't think so. I just heard Bernie talking to the gardeners a week or so ago about keep that away from anything we care about. And so,
So in Bucks County, they did it using plowing, and they didn't have very good results.
that word?
Plows?
Plow.
Yeah, so Bucks County Land Trust used this program and didn't want to use Roundup, so they were allowed to try plowing. And they plowed many times.
I heard burning is another method too.
Yeah, so they're willing to experiment.
Yeah, not Bernie doing it.
Well, I think Bernie should do it, yeah. But, yeah, we would.
Finding uses for that.
When we try to get approval from the pipeline companies, we need to have a plan forward, because if you're going to use excavating equipment over top of these.
No, we're not gonna use any excavating equipment. That's not, it doesn't, Bucks County proved it didn't work. I was just bringing that up because they were allowed to try something
Different, okay.
But our farmers are allowed to plow on pipeline.
Okay.
So, of course, the pipeline's allowed to dig up our farm fields too, so it's a sort of tournament, I guess. But, so, well, anyway, I look forward to learning more. I think I said that.
Me too.
But, anyway.
So I will continue to work forward to try to get the approval from pipeline companies, and as soon as we can get that, we can move the grass. Start planting.
So approval from supervisors?
I don't think so.
So do we have any other comments?
Well, I guess they can approve it contingent upon
Yeah,
approval
but
from the
why don't we just let everybody else
Rachel's
talk?
here, and behind her is another person. Okay, well then.
My name is Chris Moore. I live at 37 Buttonwood Lane. I have 3.5 acres in a meadow that I converted. But I have to tell you that it's not as easy as people think. And if you're concerned about chemicals, you have to use a fair amount of chemicals to control all the invasives and all the things that you don't like. And there are not that many people that are versed in meadow management. I hire a weed guy at $275 an hour plus chemicals. So you have to have some deep pockets sometimes when it comes to establishing a meadow. My meadow's been there for 6 years, and I spend a lot of time myself trying to control all the invasives and have all the other wildflowers and things come in. You're battling voles and rabbits and deer. So it sounds like a very idealistic notion to do, but you have to be prepared for all the other things that go with it.
Chris, are you still having to use?
Every year.
I'm sorry.
Every year, I'm getting ready to put down a pre-emergence to control stiltgrass in the meadow. After that, chloropid that is, I wouldn't say it's sort of like a Roundup, but it doesn't hurt your grasses. But there's a lot of chemicals involved with it. So you have to keep that in mind, and you have to keep in mind the maintenance costs every year. It's not just that you mow it once a year and you forget about it. It's just not the case. So you just have to have some deep pockets to maintain that meadow and get it off the ground. It takes several years. And when you see a highway with a median strip and salt flowers and whatnot, that's usually annuals. A lot of your things, 3 years, 5 years, even longer to come in from seed. So just bear that in mind. And I just think that sometimes when you're trying to convince people, which you know, I see, turning your lawn into meadow, it's the support that comes with it, and there's not that many people out there that know about meadow maintenance. And you have to be prepared, money-wise and time-wise, to get that off the ground. So that's all I have to say.
It's very
about
helpful,
meadows.
thank you.
She's quite right.
But it does raise the question, and maybe Donna or Barb can answer, is what is your plan after the year you put it in? What's the long-term maintenance plan for these meadows?
So we've studied this a lot, and you know, I have acres of meadow, and Barb has meadow, but that's just us. DCNR has studied this program, and the state doesn't want to put money into anything that fails. So they will only give money to a township or to a homeowner if the preparation is done by a professional. And it's mainly grasses that are planted. This isn't so much about flowers. There are some flowers, but it's the grasses that are one of the most important parts. And voles and rabbits are welcome, and I guess deer will come. But so the contractor has about a year. The contractor has a long-term contract with the state, not with us, to establish and get the meadow going. And then it would be up to us to mow once a year, and then the EAC could have a program for going around with Bernie's fire torch and hitting the multiflora rows, and hopefully won't get stilt grass and the vines. So we're lucky to have a lot of experienced people in the township.
Yeah, just one more comment. You know, we do have Natural Lands Brincoa, and they have lots and lots of meadow. And yes, they do get some invasives, and they might have to have some maintenance done, but it's not like it's a huge money drain on them. They wouldn't have it if it was. They couldn't afford it. So, again, we do have some experience with this. There are going to be some invasives. You can do it by hand. You don't have to actually use glyphosate. I mean, I do it my own by hand, my own meadow, so it's, I don't know, I just think it's better than grass.
I do agree with that.
Thank you.
And a couple of people know that I have meadows of my own, so, which are maintained by the grace of God in summer rains. But I still have, go ahead.
I didn't know where you were at, so we should probably entertain a motion to accept their proposal.
Yeah.
Subject to approval of the.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to see that. I would like to see
I
us
agree. And
let them go about the process.
But,
get more
and you guys are
information.
telling us it's not going to cost the township anything, right?
Correct.
Ever.
Well, I don't know about ever, but
Well,
I think it might be less than the mowing and, well, that's going to be part of your proposal that you're going to bring to us, right? So,
okay.
what the cost.
What does this say? Am I
We
making a
don't have
motion
anything
to?
to say, I would just, yeah, would you like someone to make a motion?
I would like to make a motion if I could figure out what it would be.
Just to support their
for
efforts.
I
looking
got
into-
it right here. The EAC's project to convert lawn to meadow in Evans Park.
I'll second the motion.
Wait, contingent upon approval from the pipeline company.
We know that,
Of course, it won't even get to us if that doesn't happen.
so, okay, that's,
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Okay, so we need to authorize approval, or actually make a motion to authorize approval for appraisals of 2 properties.
So moved.
oh. I thought she made the motion and you were gonna second it. I will second it.
Any questions or comments?
What are they, what is it?
Again, this
Potential
is,
acquisition of open space. So,
Well, one of them is about an TDR, potential TDR purchase.
or easement. I mean, yeah, we really can't talk about it until it's gotten a little
Or
further.
except that it's right to tell the public what our open space committee and the board's doing because they give us money.
Well, hopefully there will be more discussion at open space before we spend any of this money.
Right.
But we're getting approval to be allowed to spend the money.
I'm still working on transparency, remember that, it gets in the way. But, so one is definitely a consideration about buying some development rights, and the other is about acquiring open space.
Which parcels?
Matt. Jim Hanna, 1152 Hollow Road. Open Space has recommended these 2 parcels be looked at.
Yes.
I'm sorry,
It is in
that
their
no
minutes.
one's here from open space to tell
I'm
you that.
here.
Oh, and what's the rationale?
The rationale? Oh, they,
And we're not mentioning the property owner or the.
right.
That's our next question. That's coming.
The 2 properties rank very, very highly in all of our criteria.
I've been asking to see the ranking sheet for the purchase one.
So we are or are not entitled to know, on behalf of myself and some other folks, we are or are not entitled to know what 2 properties were.
Let's let David.
no, I
With our
prefer that they don't
Excel.
reveal that because then you'll know what properties we're interested in.
Yeah, that's the question.
And so we don't want to compromise the township's position with respect to that.
What?
We're not voting to do it now, we're voting to appraise it to
If we didn't
identify
have to
it,
pay.
and then we would bring it
I
to.
understand, you're taking the first step. I
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, we're just getting the appraisal.
But seriously, if he knew what it was and he said, I'll just buy that myself, he'd save us a lot of money and we wouldn't have to be being coy about
That's
it.
it. I mean, there could be others that will, there could be other reasons and other
What did you
issues.
vote on last month, then?
Hmm?
Didn't you vote on this last month?
These are
That
two,
was a different one.
these are 2
Property.
additional.
There- Hopefully, we keep getting more and more opportunities to have this conversation.
That was a different,
Yeah,
that was discussed at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Yes, this is just authorizing an appraisal.
I understand.
And how,
An appraisal of 2 different properties than were previously discussed.
Correct.
The other one was an easement.
The other one's an easement.
I'm sorry you put them in one agenda.
It kind of,
Yeah, but we
Three
figured
altogether
that since we couldn't
One
say
in
what
last
they were
meeting,
anyway, we
two.
might as well just
Okay.
try and move
All right.
on.
So our legal advice is not, bottom line is our legal advice is not to discuss what they are at this point.
And Jim, we've always treated the real estate transactions as private until we had a deal.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, they could both disappear and you never hear of them again, so all 3 of them could happen too.
So we're going to authorize an expenditure for appraisals on parcels that we may or may not be interested in. We don't know anything about it, but the township is interested in buying property. The township can only ever pay up to the appraised value, not a penny more. So whether the public is aware of the parcels or not is immaterial to acquiring a appraisal and immaterial to any potential negotiations, because an appraisal is a neutral assessment of a property's value. So if you were to tell me that the township was looking to buy the Bertram Go Cafe, then, okay, that doesn't affect the market. All it does is say that the township is a potential suitor. The township can only pay what the market assessment or appraisal is, not anymore. You can buy it for less, but if you're going to spend a reasonable chunk of money on an appraisal, it would be nice if the public had an idea of what you were doing. TDRs are one thing. That's not for anyone to access the property in the future. That's not for public use. Open space has got to be for public use. It can't be for private use. It can't be sequestered to the side. That is against everything the township residents have paid for with these bond issues or with our general fund. So I do not buy this argument that this is protected under a real estate transaction, because it's not. The township's not in a contractual situation. Have you agreed to buy a parcel?
No.
So you're not protected. You have a responsibility to the residents to tell us what it is you think you're not doing. I have a pretty good idea what you're up to, but it's incumbent upon the board to tell the residents what it is you're after. I think that's appropriate. I understand the solicitor's point of view. I believe he's wrong, since you're not in a contractual situation. You're not looking, you haven't signed any paperwork. You're looking to get an appraisal. An appraisal is an expenditure for something we need to know pretty soon. You know,
I disagree.
I think I'm right on this one.
Thank you.
And I know the public thinks I'm right on this one.
I know that's where it goes.
How much are we spending?
I'm sorry?
How much are we spending? What you're approving to spend money on
I
appraisal?
believe the appraisal is 1,800 rupees, something like that, 1,800.
I don't have that number.
I don't know.
I don't have
I think they're $1,800 a piece.
Last month it was 2,000, so that was,
Yeah.
but that was a different
That was
appraisal.
amazing.
So this is
Yeah.
two additional.
Only that was an update of an old one, and this is starting from scratch, so it seems
Cheaper
like
to
it
do it
might
from
be.
scratch?
I don't know.
No, it's not. They gave us a deal, but it's not cheap.
Okay, all right.
Julia Brandel, 2472 Flowing Springs Road. I just want to comment on Carl's comment. So it's one thing if the property's listed in the MLS and everybody already knows that it's for sale, for us to know what property it is that the township is trying to acquire or trying to buy the TDRs on. However, if it's not currently listed in the MLS, they don't want, and I don't blame them, anybody to know what the property is, because somebody in this room could say, wow, I didn't know that they were thinking about selling their property. I'm going to go in and I'm going to offer them more money and build a house on it or do something like that. So I don't think that at this point in time, they need to tell us what those properties are, because that could be the situation and that could compromise their position in the real estate transaction. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
There's three.
Is it over?
Except we didn't vote on it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to ask if it's possible to parse it, vote on one and then the other.
I don't know how you do that without, you tell me how you do without identifying the parcels.
Well, I think I've already described one is TDR and one is
Okay,
open
if you want to
space.
do it that way, that's fine.
If you want to decline the one that you want to decline, I think we'd be working it into the same motion.
I think she wants to, why don't you have two separate votes?
Okay.
Yeah, one with the garden.
Fine. All right, so can I have a motion to authorize approval for the TDR property?
I will make that motion.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
And can I have a motion to authorize approval for the purchase? Appraisal.
I'll make that motion,
I'll second.
and then I would like to discuss.
Okay.
Because you know, I'm a planful person. I want to know what the plan is. And it's like, I feel like it's the cart ahead of the horse to put $1,800, $2,000 out to find out what something is worth when we're not sure what we're going to do with it. So that's it. I'm done.
Do you want to discuss that, or do we want to move on?
Hold on.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you. Okay, can I have a motion to approve payment request number 3 for J&K Excavating in the amount of $45,637.40 for the Janie Lane Drainage Project?
I so move.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Approved. And can I have a motion to, sorry?
I think if you're going to read the whole thing, then we'll just
Okay.
keep saying, I so move.
All right, well, you go ahead. Why not?
No, it's okay. You're having so much fun.
Motion to approve a lease for Charlie Dickinson to mow the field next to the community garden.
And I will make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions?
Why not make it a meadow?
Well, that's a great idea. Let's make it that. But you had to get the grant first.
But the really good thing is there's no pipeline here.
Anyone else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Of course, we didn't tell him how much and for how many years this is. Just a single release.
It's for 3 years,
Mm.
and I believe it is $1 an acre.
$3.80 per year.
And for that privilege, we get our property mowed for us. So they do a nice job. We'd also like to acknowledge receipt of a minor subdivision application for Pot House in Kimberton, LLC, lot line exchange. Any questions on that?
We don't have to vote when we acknowledge.
Okay. And we're also acknowledging the receipt of minor subdivision application for Charles Dickinson, 710 and 800 Fellowship Road, lot line change. Any questions?
I would like to know when those applications will be available for the board to look at. Can I pick them up after the meeting?
Well, we did get them sent to us.
Are they in the?
For the information.
Yeah, the Pod House Kimberton one came later. Should have it.
So you're saying they're in here?
I think so.
Just the face, just the
But
cover
it's
sheet,
supposed to.
Yeah, well, cover sheet doesn't,
front page.
yeah, okay.
It's a lot. I guess you want to.
Do we have any public comments?
I guess.
Move to adjourn?
Oh, try. So close.
I just want to point out that almost everybody in this room had a comment tonight, and I think that's really cool, that we have a township that's so engaged. I think it's impressive on behalf of the residents, but I also think it reflects well on you guys, that we feel that we can come up here and safely give our opinion and not be belittled or condescended to or patronized. And
Just wait until you get outside.
I appreciate that, and I think sometimes we're way more prickly towards you and vice versa. It hasn't always been that way in some of the past administrations, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Great. Hi, Kirk Reynold. Speaking on behalf of the Clean Energy Transition Team, just wanted to ask a couple questions. Well, one question, and make a statement. Was the solar array on this building finally registered with the PA, Pennsylvania Utility Commission?
Yes.
It was?
Oh, register with the, I don't think we have to do that.
Yes, you do.
As
Because,
long as we clear it through PICO.
no,
No? Do you?
I was not asked to do anything like that.
No.
okay, because
I'll look into this. because
Solar sent
I've
me
been
an
working with
agreement.
just to let you know, it's been 12 years since it's been registered. And every year that it produces energy, you should get a check.
When
back.
you're doing that through Vote Solar, they sent me an agreement, which we did sign. I don't know if that pertains to.
This we discussed 6 months ago, Jackie.
Okay, that was just signed last month.
Okay. Okay, it took 5 months. Second thing,
I just got it last month.
okay, second issue is that we submitted a proposal for an implementation grant for some clean energy projects on both the Public Works building and over at Opalani, and those very likely will be included with a climate pollution reduction grant application with the Philadelphia Energy Authority. That's a large grant, it's about $100 to $200 million. So we're just one small project within that. So we have a pretty decent shot. So we should know probably by the end of the summer whether or not we get some money on that. And at that time, we'll talk with you about what the cost share would be from the township.
Did you want to give a plug to your seminar coming up?
No.
Between the two? Okay. April 3rd.
April 3rd.
Thank you.
Real quick, Barry Libro, the charging station out there, I noticed that the white SUV that used to park there and the bicycle would be out here at the railing, so somebody was using our power. That was when it was free. So the question is, we've been set up, we have the credit card machine in there now. How much electricity have we sold? What have we made so far? Goose egg. When it was free, it was good. And I found out where that car actually is located. I don't know who owns it, but from the size of their house, they could afford not to take our electricity.
Yeah.
So, okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Chris Moore, 37 Buttonwood Lane. I attended the meeting in November, and I was asking about the bridge. And I was told after the meeting that there was some FEMA money allocated to the bridge, and I haven't heard anything since that meeting, and there was also some issues with the farm and the conditional use, and the amount of traffic coming across that bridge now, and I'm not so sure that the conditional use issues with the farm have been resolved, and I almost feel like 2024 is going to be deja vu all over again, to quote the...
If I could speak to that, our zoning officer did look into all of the trafficking and stuff that was going on over there, and she can find no violations to what they're doing.
Oh, no.
That's impossible.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what she reported.
Jim Scaparotto, 40 Buttonwood Lane. I complimented the zoning officer the last time. I think she needs to relook everything. I mean, and maybe you need to look at it. It is as clear as I've ever seen anything that it specifically says they are not allowed to do any of that. So, I mean, I will summarize it all for you. And if, I'll send it to you and you can send it to him. I mean, it's irrefutable.
Yeah, please copy the board too.
Oh, you got it. So, no offense to the zoning officer, but I don't know what she's looking at.
Well, she looked at all, there was conditional uses, then they were removed, then there were different things.
yeah.
But
Oh, I know.
so she went back and went through it all, and
I have,
Right.
I've got all the
that was her
documentation.
assessment, so.
Right, yeah. Everybody got their own. I think she's grossly incorrect there, though. And it's pretty clear. And we haven't met and discussed this yet, but we're gonna send some documentation to the township about what we expect you all to enforce. It was like, I know there was some talk earlier about ordinances being set up that may or may not actually enforce. I don't particularly like the sound of that. Like, don't create ordinances or don't have laws that you're not willing to enforce. So what's the point, I guess, right? But yeah, sure, we'll get all that to you, and I'll make it as clear as I can.
Thank you, Jim.
Yeah, Julia Brendel, 2472 Flowing Springs Road, and I'm the horse person here. So, do I want to bash a farm? No. But I will say, since Jim got up and did his presentation, no, there probably hasn't been anything going on over there because it's not show season. However, during show season, there are cars and trailers parked all up and down the road. You cannot pass on the road. I've driven up there and had to back all the way back down the road, over the bridge to get out of there. So there's, no, in my car. There's no way that ordinances are not being broken there. There's absolutely no way.
Joey, when is show season?
Show season will be starting in like a month. I can get the list of all of, I can get, you know, hey, I don't want to rat out my fellow horsewoman, but I can get the list of when all of her shows are going to be, so that you can drive up there and see what happens during a horse show.
Would you email it to the board?
Yeah, because that's unacceptable.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So what is the status of the bridge?
So Christina has been working with Mike Hogan to get the rest of the FEMA money for the bridge. And then we have to circle back to the engineering company that was working on it, once we have the funds from FEMA to get the bridge built. So it's going to be a little bit of a process, but we are working on it.
What kind of timeline do you think it should be?
I can't give you a timeline. It depends on when we get the rest of the money from FEMA and when the engineering company can pick up where they left off, or if we're going to give it to our new engineer. I don't have the answers to those yet, but they're things that we are working on, and we have been for the last few months, very diligent.
If you're concerned about the condition of that bridge, I walk down there often, I look at it, and nothing's being undermined, so it's going to last you for quite a while,
Did
years.
you take
As an unprofessional, say
a little look at the garden gate structure underneath holding the bridge up?
Have I looked? Yeah, I've
You
looked
went
down
down, you had to
but I'm not an
visit.
engineer, just, you know, my observation over multiple times. They did a great job.
And who's the engineer?
It was McMahon.
Amen.
We didn't reappoint them this year for that, so I guess we would turn it over to LTL, or we'd have to reappoint
We had,
McMahon to pick up where we left off.
we had not appointed McMahon.
Well, somebody hired McMahon to do the bridge.
Right, but it was not an appointment. It may have been the emergency, whatever, because the bridge is
But we're not
gone.
holding to that.
Okay, so it's not that we have a new,
No.
yet another
Just new on the
new
bridge.
engineer. Okay, new on the bridge.
As I started to say, I'm afraid that 2024 is going to be deja vu all over again, quoting the late and great Yogi Berra.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.